why people think Steve Jobs is still alive.
My camera's not turning on. What's that? I did slide it and let go.
Steve Jobs played a major role in changing our society as we know it. His ideas, innovation, and products have come to define millions and millions of people all across the globe. So the world was devastated when Steve Jobs passed away in 2011 after a prolonged battle with pancreatic cancer. In the past 2 days, however, the internet has exploded with the supposed sighting of Steve Jobs and given rise to a litany of conspiracy theories regarding the innovator possibly faking his own passing. Welcome to Lime Report. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to explain exactly why some people believe Steve Jobs is still alive. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment keyword Apple for a chance at our $100 Amazon gift card giveaway. The most popular conspiracy theory about Jobs has him currently hiding out in Egypt. Let's take a minute to break this down and show you just why people are believing this rumor. It all began with a simple Twitter post, as these things often do. An NBC pop culture executive posted 2 photos side by side, one of Steve Jobs and one of a man sitting in a chair outdoors. The resemblance between the two is uncanny, to say the least. The poster, a guy named Mike Sington, captioned the photo, writing, "Steve Jobs is discovered alive and living in Egypt." With that, the floodgates opened. Comments began to pour in, and at first they were good-natured, responding as if the post had been a joke. One person wrote, "His watch is on the wrong wrist. Great resemblance, though, and for the photographer to take the shot just as he's finishing eating his apple. Amazing." Another followed it with, "Doppelganger." But then the comments began to shift in a different direction. A different Twitter user wrote, "I knew it." And then someone else began to encourage that train of thought, writing, "It could happen." From there, it was all downhill. A Reddit thread was started on the subject with comments like, "I know this is supposed to be a joke, but bleep, this guy looks too much like Steve Jobs to be so random. Faked his death like Tupac." Someone else adds, and it goes on with, "Honestly, wouldn't put it past him. His love for Egypt and that type of simple living." Another photo surfaced then of the Steve Jobs-looking man being wheeled down the street in a wheelchair. The person who took the photo was trying to make it look like a selfie, but one can tell by the expression of the man who's pushing fake Jobs around that the photo taker was none too subtle. One vehement blogger made their opinion undeniably clear with a bit of a rant, referencing the second photo and writing, "I have to say, I am really happy to see Steve Jobs is doing much better since the last time we saw a picture of him post-fake death. Whatever super secretive treatments and operations only available to the world's elite clearly did a number on Steve. Back and better than ever. Hanging out in Egypt, wearing traditional garments and enjoying the simple life. A man of Syrian descent breathing that dry desert air. Has to be good for him." You're probably thinking, "Hey, that can't be Steve Jobs. He isn't wearing an Apple Watch." Buddy, you really think Steve Jobs would wear an Apple Watch? You think he wants people to know how his vital organs are operating? No chance. He is staying off the grid. Check. He's also touching his face, just like Steve Jobs always did before he faked his death. Classic Jobs. Dead giveaway. That's him. No questions about it. Please leave him alone until he's ready to come back to society to tell people that he's putting wires back on headphones. In that same vein, another person posted, "Plus that thing he's doing with his hands and mouth. That is a Steve Jobs tick. No question, that's him. It's funny, but it's actually something he would have really done." Granted, he did like the limelight, but their comment was refuted by a bold final statement with another user writing, "He's not wearing a black turtleneck. It's not him." That sort of dark humor at the end there has been the more popular response by skeptics. On Reddit, one of them wrote, "As you get older, I swear you end up seeing more and more people that look the same. There is immense variation in nature, but we are drawn to patterns. I have done double takes on people who are complete strangers who look like someone I used to know." Someone followed that by posting, "Apple should hire this guy, bring him to USA, and start a campaign that the Jobs is back from the dead. I'm alive!" And he could fix the keyboards and MacBooks. Another person added, "This is a photograph posted this week. I am skeptical that he would do this, but this photo does get you wondering. If it isn't him, it's evident that we all have doppelgangers." On Twitter, people have been taking a bolder approach, with one Jobs fan posting, "If Steve Jobs was still alive and heard about Apple's streaming service plans and current lineup, he would have destroyed an entire boardroom with his bare hands and fired everyone without notice." Then on Reddit, the comments began to refute the theory with a bit of logic. One person wrote, "Side profile and the nighttime photography, high contrast of the shadows, could be deceiving. I wonder what this guy actually looks like when you look at him from the front. There's a reason why facial recognition is done from the front and not via side profile." It's clear that people are worked up about the possibility of Jobs being alive, but many people who were born after the year 2000 might not have the best understanding of who Steve Jobs really is, or the impact he truly had on our modern society. Let's take time now to go through Jobs' life a bit and who exactly he was to our world. Jobs was born in San Francisco, California, and was put up for adoption as a baby. He was raised in the Bay Area and attended Reed College in 1972, but he dropped out in his first year. 2 years later, he traveled through India seeking enlightenment, trekking a leg of the infamous hippie trail while studying Zen Buddhism. His declassified FBI report states that he used some illicit substances, including LSD, while he was in college, but Jobs defended this, once telling a reporter that taking LSD was one of the 2 or 3 most important things he had done in his life. Jobs co-founded Apple in 1976 with a man named Steve Wozniak. Their aim was to sell Wozniak's personal computer, the Apple I. Together, the duo gained fame and wealth with the Apple II, one of the first highly successful mass-produced personal computers to be released. Jobs saw the commercial potential of new technologies in 1979, which led to the development of the unsuccessful Apple Lisa in 1983. While that was a stinging setback, it was followed by a breakthrough Macintosh computer in 1984. This was the first mass-produced computer with a GUI, a graphical user interface, which made it widely accessible to people unfamiliar with computers. This might sound strange, but in 1984, that was practically everyone in the world. Sure, there were a few computer heads back then, but they were the ones literally creating computers. Remember, this is only 10 years after a computer took up an entire room and never stopped making noise. Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985 after a long power struggle with the company's board and its then CEO, John Sculley. That same year, Jobs took a few of Apple's members with him to found Next, a computer platform development company that specialized in computers for higher education and business markets. He also helped develop the visual effects industry when he funded the computer graphics division of George Lucas's famous studio, Lucasfilm. That was 1986, and the new company was named Pixar. Pixar should speak largely for itself, but in case you didn't know, Pixar produced the first 3D computer animated film ever in 1995. That movie was Toy Story. Apple merged with Next in 1997, and Jobs became CEO of his former company within a few months. Talk about a reversal of roles. Jobs wasted no time in reviving his old company, which had been at the verge of bankruptcy. He worked closely with designer Joni Ive to develop a line of products that had massive cultural ramifications beginning in 1997. The Think Different advertising campaign brought the world the iMac, iTunes, the iTunes, and Apple Store, the iPod, iPhone, App Store, and of course the iPad. In 2001, the original Mac OS was replaced with a completely new operating system that went on to conquer the technological needs of artists, innovators, and everyday people all across the world. Jobs was diagnosed with a pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor in 2003, but he gravitated towards alternative medicines rather than the Western approach. After it seemed to Jobs that his condition would not improve without surgery, he had the tumor surgically removed in 2004. That seemed to keep the cancer at bay for a few years, but Jobs' health continued to decline. In 2009, Jobs wrote in a memo to his employees, "I have learned that my health-related issues are more complex than I originally thought." He then took an extended leave of absence and received a liver transplant. Tim Cook, who was running Apple in Jobs' absence, actually offered Steve a portion of his own liver, but Jobs apparently yelled back at him, "I'll never let you do that. I'll never do that." But sure enough, he did, and at first his prognosis was described as excellent. But a year and a half after the second surgery, Steve took another leave of absence from Apple. Several months after his departure, he released an official statement of resignation, writing, "I have always said if there ever came a day when I could no longer meet my duties and expectations as Apple's CEO, I would be the first to let you know. Unfortunately, that day has come." Jobs passed away at his Palo Alto home around 3 p.m. on October 5, 2011, just a few weeks after leaving Apple for good. Complications from his recurring cancer caused him to go into respiratory arrest, the public was told. Steve's sister described for a reporter what the final moments were like. She said, "Steve's final words hours earlier were monosyllables, repeated 3 times. Before embarking, he'd look at his sister Patty, then for a long time at his children, then at his life's partner, Laureen, and then over their shoulders past them. Steve's final words were, 'Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow.' He then lost consciousness and never woke up again, passing just a few hours later." What's your take on all of this? Do you think Steve is still alive and living in Egypt? If so, why would he fake his own passing? Is this just all a big mix-up? What's your opinion on Steve Jobs' life and all he accomplished? Are you a Mac or a PC sort of person, and why? Let us know all of your thoughts in the comments below. We'd really love to hear them. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment keyword Apple for a chance at our $100 Amazon gift card giveaway. Thanks so much for watching through the end of the video. It really means a lot to us. And make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the news that matters most to you. This has been Lime Report, talking about Steve Jobs and his doppelganger out in Egypt. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Lime Report.
It was beautiful, historical.
When I was 30, and was invited to come back 12 years later. So